Petrograd, May 1945. Our reporters have, under the promise of anonymity, seen official documents from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Empire detailing the breakdown of negotiations with the Empire of Japan in regards to the ending of the war in China. After the removal of Russian troops from the front, who had pushed the front line back towards Beijing, Japanese forces have once again advanced south. The Emperor is under the impression that the Russian armed forces are tied in a war against the Entente and cannot afford direct involvement against their imperial ambitions in East Asia. What the Japanese have failed to grasp is that the Moscow Accord, now spanning Europe, Central Asia and parts of North Africa, has both a humanitarian responsibility to ending the Japanese war crimes against the Chinese population and a strategic interest in countering an aggressively expansionist colonial empire on the eastern border. Already, significant numbers of troops are moving from the previous concentrations on the European front towards Asia. Greek forces, meanwhile, are trying to land in the north of Corsica, but are faced with a significant opposition. So we'll be relaying some aircraft out of Moscow towards Rome to support them. We also have an engagement with the Canadian fleet, which is now stuck in the Mediterranean and doesn't really have a home port to go to anymore, except for the North Moroccan coast, Palma, and the Sardinia-Corsica area. So that is the last battlefield that they still somewhat control. And we've got the Okun class submarines out in the ocean and they actually look like that. Look at that. They have the 2 deck guns, one forward and rear. So that is modeled after I think it was the K class late war Russian Soviet submarines. And that's where there was no good picture of it. So in the last episode, I did an AI rendition of these things, but that's what they would have looked like. So this is pleasantly surprisingly accurate, what my Okuns are looking like. And with that, we are getting ready for both a naval invasion, multiple naval invasions, and for a potential conflict in East Asia, where we have significant troop numbers in the area at this point. And I do need to spread out the railway guns a little bit better. We've got one there, so we'll send one over here. That should give us coverage along the front lines. And I don't think Fengtian actually has any troops on the border. So I think any advance here is going to be, we're probably going to make our way halfway through before they can even send troops to counter this, because they're not necessarily ready for us. And we have also a noticeable group of air wings here. We've got 16 fighter wings. We've got some transports. We have a small number of naval bombers, as well as some scout planes and 13 close air support wings, all standing by and ready for engagement. I don't have any, as usual. I don't have any aces for the close air support wings, but I do have a few fighter aces around that we can assign. So I'm gonna go through and get these all assigned to the Asian air group at this point. Another thing I haven't done in a while is to go through the admirals and generals and see if anyone have any new traits. We've got Admiral Shkuro of the Airborne First Army, but he has no relevant traits to be assigned, so there's not an awful lot we can do here. We do have Govorov of the 14th, but it's just big area fighter, so there's also nothing really that interesting. And we already have Shatilov taking care of the African troops, who is relatively experienced. How about the naval situation? Yeah, there we might have some. So we've got Kolchak himself, who is on our battle fleets, and he has a trait available to him. So let's see what we can get. We could get Crisis Magician to reduce the impact of critical hits. Naval AA, not super important. Destroyer Leader. Destroyer Leader might not be bad, although I'm actually I'm actually thinking of swapping him out, to be fair, because he is a cruiser captain. Yeah, cruiser captain is not bad, but I would have preferred an Ironside. I didn't know he didn't have that. We've got Admiral Stark, who is currently commanding the submarine groups, and he might actually be. No, he doesn't have the Ironside either. Do I have somebody? Yeah, he's actually good on the Seawolf side. Let's see. Do I have somebody other than Kolchak? I mean, obviously, I don't want to sideline Kolchak, but do I have somebody who would be it's a fleet protector? It looks like I don't actually have anyone. I don't have anyone who would be Admiral Tributs could work, but I'm not particularly fond of that. I think I'll leave Kolchak in. So unfortunately, we are missing the Ironside skill. That would be 10% capital ship armor and then lead into the big guns expert. This is actually quite significant for a battle fleet. But we'll go with, what do we got? One trait. I could go with Destroyer Leader in the Orbit Lancer. Lancer is probably a good one out of Spotter. So we could get 25% screen penetration on torpedoes. That would be quite useful. Yeah, we're going with that. And hopefully he can start picking up the traits as we go. Nobody else really, by the looks of it, has any available traits. We've got Admiral Isakov, who is managing the 4 brave old destroyers in the African region. And he's got 2 traits available, so we may as well give it to him. We are going with... Lone Wolf would be interesting. I think that, Lone Wolf is something that's matching for him. And the Smokescreen Specialist. Because he is running a bit more of a hit and run kind of group here. Although we are almost done on the African coast, and we will see most of the troops at this point. Most of the troops at this point going eastwards, and I am going to actually send them along the railway lines. How is the supply here? Supply out of Lusaka, which is connected via Elizabethville. So we should be good to advance. Yeah, there's a supply hub right there. So what we need is a railway. Actually, we have a river connection. So this might, actually, we don't need a railway. We can just barge it along the rivers. And we should get supply in here. And then from here on out, we can take out the rest. There's a small remnant of Portuguese forces, but not an awful lot. I don't think actually anybody holds that supply position. So let's just simply move in while we're waiting for the rest of the troops to clear out the last Portuguese positions here in Africa. And that, I think, pretty much completes the Entente in the southern African part. We have the small Portuguese holding of Bissau, as well as obviously Morocco being the Entente holdout here. But navally, we've still got the fleet positioned. Here. We are still waiting for the Republique to be completed in repairs, and then her and the Patrie will can join this group. And with that, we should have enough firepower to take on. We haven't seen the Americans anymore. It could still be that they are operating in the western approaches out of Ireland, and but we're waiting for the submarines. We're waiting for the submarines to make their way there to start patrolling the area. We are laying mines. That is giving us a little bit of visibility as well, and we're starting to see them here. And obviously limits the possibility of the American forces moving. So the big problem right now is this Canadian group, and that is 5 battleships, a battle cruiser, as well as their destroyer cover. But that is a fleet that we can take on, I believe, at this point. That might actually be, let's see, we've got 6 ships, 24 screens, 5 light cruisers, 19 destroyers. We don't know, these are all Most of these are old, although the Ontario and the Quebec are somewhat more modern. It's the same mixed bag with the destroyers. We've got four old battleships from the First Weltkrieg. However, we have one dreadnought with the HMS St. David. That is going to be a problem. And we've got the Repulse as well, which is still an older one. But yeah, we've got one really, really big ship in this fleet. So we do need to be somewhat cautious on how we're taking these on. And I'm hesitant to commit the battle fleet with the ships available because we only have the 4 Ismails here. So yeah, we need at least the 2 French battleships, and ideally we would start moving this fleet as well, and then engage with both fleets simultaneously if we can manage. But yeah, that is all to come. For now, we are going to finish the operations in Africa. It's still a few days until the naval landings are planned, and then we will see how that all goes. But for now, we'll finish the operations in Africa. I think I'm actually going to complete the Marines doctrines because we're not having too many ships to design right now. I might at least I'll leave about 100 XP around, but we can get the expeditionary units, which improves our naval planning speed, which is great. It's something we actually need right now. And we got the I can still get one more. We've got a 50% cost reduction, and we can get special forces attack, shore bombardment, and 2 org on the Marines, and that just leaves this, which is just a battalion defense modifier and extra supply grace. But that's a 60. Yeah, we'll get it. So let's just finish it, and then we'll make do with whatever we have left on XP when it comes to designing additional ships. Did I design the? Yeah, I did the Novgorod class destroyers. Was I going to design a new cruiser? Light cruisers. No, we did that already with the Alexeyev. Yeah, so we were all good. We've got the light cruisers, we've got the destroyers, we've got the Okuns, and we've got the Imperator Maria battleships. Carrier models. We've got some old paperwork laying around, some old conceptual paperwork, but we are not going to begin with the production yet. We have to finish up the carrier research first. And we'll eventually get to the more modern submarines as well. But all in all, we're getting through the naval research here finally. And these we have to do. The floating harbors might be something good to have. So still lots of things to do, but we also need to get back to land research at some point because we need more modern tanks. All right, advanced submarines are finished. Which means we can. Is it worth going for? Yeah, it's worth going for the modern ones, just for the improved engine, because that gives us the better engine, and then we can begin and the better ship torpedo tubes as well. So let's get that underway, and then that is done. We've got Dalzavod, which we are using for submarines. What can we get? Visibility. Visibility is good. This is for convoys, not particularly interested. This would be hit points for submarines, and this would be more on, what do we got? What does weather penalty have to do with mining? Okay. It impacts the mining decisions. Okay, so this is basically minus 20% weather penalty. This is another minus 20% weather penalty. And then eventually speed, and does this need? Yeah, this doesn't need all of them. Hit points, visibility. I'm going to go with visibility, so we're going to go with that design trait. Well, we'll eventually get to refitting them for that, but not for now. All right. We're still researching that, and we'll do a new model of the submarines, including the Okuns, once we have the advanced engines. Okay, the first airstrike against the combined fleet. We've done a bit of damage to the Royal Sovereign, but it's the Saint David that we're concerned about. So the first airstrikes against the fleet in the Mediterranean are happening, and I think that they're going to port in Morocco, just opposite the strait, and are repairing there, which means I can, now that we have naval bombers available. Unfortunately, we don't really have the airport, but we have the range. I'm going to send them on port strikes. So let's send these naval bomber wings over. We've got 6. We can send them over here, and we will send them on port strikes while we'll keep harassing the fleet from the air while this is all going on. We've got fighter wings up in the air, and we've got some close air support. So we will assist the Greek while sinking. While the naval bombers that are operating here are sinking, continuing to sink transports. I think the central Mediterranean is pretty much clear at this point, so we can focus on the Tyrrhenian Sea. No fight. There are some fighters up in the air, so let's make short work of those and get aerial superiority here as well. And with that, we should be able to lend some air assistance, hopefully, to the Cass wings. Am I able to? This should be the same air zone, so I should be able to give a bit of air support to the Greek, who seem to have at least managed to land now, but are obviously facing immediate. Yeah, there we go. So air support is working. This should help. This should help support the Greek landings in the north, and allow us to prepare our own landing there. We are spotting enemy destroyers in the approaches, and I think there's still an American force that has landed in Albania, but the locals are dealing with it. They're encircled. They're not getting out of there. First port strike has been done. Given that the ships are now in port, they have, first of all, we know that there is no additional force here. So it's the Canadian fleet as well as one submarine, one Spanish submarine. We've done, given that they're sitting still in port, we've done significantly more damage now to the Royal Sovereign, Ramirez, Resolution, Repulse, and Saint David. At the very least, damaging the ships in port. We'll continue the raids for a bit. We're damaging the ships in port, and we will see that first of all gives our submarines clear operations for anything that tries to go through the strait, troop-wise, and we'll see if we can at least it keeps them out of the fight for a while, and if we can strip some of their forces down from the air, that buys us time that they need for repairs for other operations. We've got 12 American destroyers. Yeah, it's a destroyer escort group operating in the African coast. So we'll hunt that, and we will see. I have read that, and we will see what the. We'll see if the Americans end up actually coming out, or we don't know if they actually still have the fleet available here. So right now we're intercepting this destroyer group, and we will see how that ends up going, while continuing bombardment of the enemy fleet in port, which I don't think is going to be able to escape. We've got a few more torpedo hits on the St. David, and the Queen Elizabeth is starting to look worse for wear. It's a destroyer. No, it's a heavy hull. Actually, there we go. Yeah, she's been hit significantly by these port strikes. So I think that is going to reduce their firepower quite noticeably. I don't want to deprive the Navy of their own glory, which is currently intercepting this destroyer group here. We'll see how they fare. But I'm wary of that. There's the American fleet. This is bad. This is what I was afraid of, that the Americans were still in the area. So it seems that they have been operating out of. That they're operating out of the out of Madeira, out of the port in Madeira, and that is a superior fleet. So we are going to have to disengage and return to friendly ports if possible, because that is a superior fleet. And we are immediately going to redirect can we reach them from the air? Not sure, but I'm immediately going to begin strike operations into the sea zones. Can we get any closer? Not particularly. We can move these off here, and we can move these naval bombers over there, and focus on naval strikes. We'll see if we can get air support, but this is less than ideal. I was relatively convinced at this point that the Americans were not not engaging, or not in theater anymore, but it appears that they are in Funchal. So we've sunk the destroyers, but the fleet needs to no, don't intercept that. Are you mad? That's why I had them on low risk. No. Immediately return to port, to the nearest port, and we'll try to give air cover to try to see if we can. That was one of my experience, because the fleet wasn't engaging experiments. Okay, so the fleet now is racing back under air cover, and we will rush to. We'll actually go towards Cadiz, hug the coastline, and hope that we can escape the potential engagement with the Americans, who might not have spotted us yet. No, they're moving off northwards. Okay, so American fleet is moving north into the northern zone. So we're racing right now to try and get back under air cover, and see if we can manage to race back to port, because that is a significant force that is too strong for us to engage with. So let's see if we can manage to get out of here. And we've sunk a convoy, and we are under air cover now. So I'm reasonably hopeful that the Americans didn't spot us. The fleet's operating in the Iberian coast area. So right now, fleet's back in port. Let's get any minor damage repaired for now, mostly on some of the destroyers, as well as some of the old light cruisers have taken some damage. But we cannot take this force on easily. But it's good to see that the Okuns have spotted them, and we know exactly where they are, because that allows us to avoid them. But this is a fleet. It's not a carrier group, most likely, but it is we got 2 battle cruisers, 4 battleships, 6 heavy cruisers, 5 lights, and 43 destroyers. So that's a group that we cannot easily that we cannot take on at this point. So for now, what we'll do is we'll try to see. They're just out of range, unfortunately. But we'll try to direct our naval bombers towards them and see if we can. We need some more long-range naval bombers, and see if we can get. See if any of the planes can catch them at maximum striking range. So let's keep an eye on the Americans there and make sure that they don't go where we don't see them. We've got the rest of the fleet that should still be in port, unless they actually exited port. Are they out and about? No, yes, they are out and about. It's a partial fleet. We have an opportunity here. So they've left the ships behind for repairs. So we potentially have an opportunity to attest that fleet. So they've got 1 battle cruiser, 3 battleships, 5 lights, and 11 destroyers. They're very deficient on, and they've detached the other fleet. Have they? No, that's where the fleet is. That's just their spotting. Yeah. So they've detached most of their screening force. This might be an opportunity to take them on, although we're still even in strength on capital ships. and I would want both fleets on that. What we could do is we could start sending the now that we actually know where they are, we could start sending this fleet. Over, which should be able to. It's a little risky, so we could. I need them for the naval invasion, but this is too good of an opportunity to let go. So currently the fleet's repairing here. We could stop the repairs and try to intercept with both fleets. However, this one is quite a bit far away from my taste. So I think what we'll do is, for now, we'll move this fleet. We'll try to move this fleet towards Barcelona, and see if we can get a little closer, while keeping a very close eye on where this fleet's going here. So let's see where these ships are going. They are currently engaging. Okay, they're currently engaging submarines, so they can't get through the straits because of we're controlling the guns at Gibraltar, which means I should be able to get this fleet here into a position, maybe even towards Valencia, while the enemy fleet's busy chasing away the Allied submarines. They are not in a position particularly to intercept our own fleet. So let's get our ships into position here, and and then we've got potentially both fleets. Okay, we've sunk the convoys. The enemy fleet has once again disappeared. So let's sail into port in Valencia, and then we've got both fleets in port. We have them pretty bottled in, so it might be possible. What I'm thinking of is to try and get these two fleets to join. We know that the Americans are there. We've done some damage to the South Carolina, but we're losing a fair amount of planes from these operations. So what I'm thinking is to concentrate all our forces onto the Western Mediterranean at this point. Are we complete on repairs? We are complete on repairs. So this is what we're going to do. We've got two fleets. We've got this group, which is going to become a strike force, but purely on the Western Mediterranean. And we've got this group, which is going to become a strike force on the Western Mediterranean. This one is, we're still repairing the Republique, but this is an opportunity to take on the Canadian part of the fleet. So with that, we can concentrate our aerial efforts onto the Western Mediterranean as well, and bring the naval bombers back over. And from here, probably we'll send the scout planes over there. Okay, and with that, I think we have the best possible. I might send them actually. Yeah, no, this is fine. Okay, we're sending the Air Force in here. Naval bombers from both sides on naval strikes in the Western Med. We've got both fleets ready as strike forces on the Western Mediterranean. Can we not get there? Oh, we can't get there because they are holding the other side of the strait, is it? Yes. Oh, dang it. Okay. The problem is they're holding the guns on the other side, so we can't pass the strait either, which means that this is going to come. Okay, in that case, not strike force. We'll remain here, and we'll just keep bombarding them from the air for now, and we will see if we can where we can strike them. I would love to. We've only got 2 battleships. We've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 1 heavy cruiser, and we've got the 4 Ushakovs, as well as a good amount of Vitebsk-class destroyers. That is still that should actually be possible with air support to take them on. Although they have more firepower on the heavy ships. I'm gonna put them on strike force in the Western Med and see if we can manage to intercept something. Let's see if that ends up. I mean, we're sinking enemy convoys here in the meantime. So current submarines can get through, but nobody else can. So unfortunately, we can't actually get through ourselves to support, which means that this fleet here in the Mediterranean is going to have to do that on their own. We're still sinking a few transports. It was a great opportunity, and we'll see for a little bit if we can manage to find wherever that fleet went, or if they have retreated to port themselves. That would be very unfortunate. But we'll see if we can tease them out for a little bit, and otherwise we will be returning towards the naval invasion support here, if the enemy fleet cannot be located. Where are the Okuns currently? We should have one. Yeah, we've got the 8th Brigade with 5 submarines operating in the Western Med, and we've got scout planes doing air operations, and we've got the aircraft. In the area, everyone is searching for the enemy fleet. The big question is: are they going to be brought out by the submarine attacks on the convoys that are going through here? We are launching some air raids on convoys as well, but the national focus is now completed. Available war goal, yes. We've got a few unassigned divisions and other things that we need to work with. So let's sort things out first. Troops are arriving on the African coast, and I think there's not an awful lot else going on. We know where the Americans are. They have their main battle fleet operating off the Iberian coast, probably out of the ports here in Madeira, and that group is one that we cannot easily take on. That's 12 capital ships. So that's a difficult group to crack. However, we can concentrate ourselves on the trapped Canadian fleet in the Mediterranean. Unfortunately, we can't reinforce the fleet in the Mediterranean, at least not easily, because the guns on the strait on the other side are held by the enemy. Now, we could actually launch a naval invasion across the strait, but that would actually mean that we would have to have naval superiority in the Mediterranean, which is currently prevented by the appearance of the enemy fleet. So can Kedrov's Mediterranean fleet take them on? If they are operating without destroyer cover, then they can. But it is a risky proposal. Now we can always go back first towards the naval landings and open up the battlefield in Sardinia, because the Greeks are currently being pushed back, despite us providing air support for their increasingly desperate situation. So we're ready for the invasion. Do we have naval supremacy? We do. So we could launch the naval invasion. We don't even need the fleet, because there's nothing operating. We've cleared out all the enemy ships operating in the Eastern Med. So we could launch the naval invasion here, and I think that is probably what we're going to do. So the first service squadron is going to lurk here and see if we can catch parts of catch a part of the enemy fleet operating out. I'm going to get some of my aircraft back on port strikes, not all of them, but some of them, and just attack the ports along the Moroccan coast here, and we will see. That gives us a bit of an idea where they are and what they're doing. But I don't see them out in the open right now. So I think it's what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to launch the Sardinian naval invasion. See if we can. Oh, this might actually be hard. There's a fair amount of troops in Cagliari. I might actually need a fleet for that, for shore bombardment as well. Okay. We'll hold off on the naval invasion for a little bit longer, and we'll give it a few more days and see if we can figure out where the Canadian fleet is. Because right now they seem to be in port. We are blowing transports out of the water, and we have launched another attack at Tangiers. Okay, they're all in port with damage to various degrees. So I think they're not going to be able to. I think they're not going to be able to intercept at this stage, given that the amount of damage that they've sustained, which means we can bring the fleet back. We can bring the fleet back to off the coast, or we'll bring the fleet back to Rome, and we'll do naval invasion support for now in the Tyrrhenian Sea, and then launch the action against the troops stationed there. All right. What do we have? What else do we have to do here? We've got a few. We could still. We're going to distribute some civic honors. Restoration of the monarchy would have been impossible without certain people having the will and courage to stand against the self-proclaimed vozhd. These people deserve to be recognized in New Russia. They shall be the recipients of the restored order of St. Andrew the Apostle, the first called, distinguishing the people loyal to the crown from the legions of spineless sycophants and turning them into the new elite in the empire. Let's do that. Yes, we have the option to launch hostilities in East Asia at this point, but I do want to not be engaged in 5 theaters at the same time. So let's focus for now on the African positions, where I think we have sufficient forces to simply collapse the remaining Portuguese positions. We should have. No supply connection. Why can we not get supply across the river? That is irritating, but easily remedied. Simply going to build a railway. I should have done that in the first place, had I known. Okay. So let's get a railway connection, and I'm going to have to prioritize that once more. Let's get a railway connection constructed. That is not a problem for the Russian combat engineers. They're used to this kind of operation. And the rest of the troops are mostly reorganized. We don't know what we're facing here, so let's just simply move in. It is a single Portuguese division, which is pretty well dug in, but I don't think they are standing a chance against our numerical superiority. So the fast we actually can support that from here. There are additional American troops here, so let's do that as well. And just a quick look. This is destroyers hunting us here, but other than that, nothing much. Fleet is not yet back in Rome. Where's my fleet? Fleet is currently holding position. Okay, holding position off the coast. Right. So that's all good. We've sunk another American convoy, and the same here. We've got some action again. The convoy, the Canadian fleet seems to be in port for repairs for now. So we've disabled them sufficiently that they're not going to interfere, which means we can now execute the fleet is positioned, and we can execute the naval invasion of Cagliari and Sardinia, which might get quite interesting, but relieve the Greeks. American forces here, so we do have to at some point be a little careful, potentially, but I think we can push these troops out without too much trouble here, and then that means we can do the naval invasion next and launch the Marines out of Rome. In fact, we're going to be launching invasions across the whole Mediterranean at this point, because I think both of them are ready. And we are going to send 6 divisions out of Barcelona towards an attack against Palma. And we're going to send 7 divisions into the south here while the Canadian fleet is enacting repairs in port. All of this under air cover from friendly troops, as well as the first surface group providing naval gunfire support. And I'm actually going to give them to hold positions where they are, because that is the one that I'm more concerned about. Let's see what the okay, there's a single Spanish division here, so that should not be a problem. This one is the more interesting one, so I'm going to leave the fleet here for naval gunfire support once the Marines are ready to land, and keeping an eye out for potential approach of enemy naval forces. But so far it's just convoys that we're hunting and sinking. American convoys going back and forth. There are American troops here as well, so we're going to have to keep an eye on those potentially. But yeah, the troop convoys they're trying to shift their troops around, but their troop convoys are generally operating just without cover. Okay, we still know that they're in port here. We've got we're seeing some enemy shipping in the western approaches, but not an awful lot. We can deal with that at a later stage. I just don't want to risk this fleet against the American fleet that's operating here. What we could do, I don't know if they might be covering the approaches as well, so let's not risk it. We have sunk a few convoys, but there's some Irish ships operating in the area as well. All right, in that case, okay, I do need to leave the fleet actually on invasion support, otherwise we don't have the okay, now they're staying in place. All right, we're launching the main landing at Cagliari against which is unfortunately heavily defended by the Americans and the Canadians. So I'm not entirely certain this will succeed. We might have to try a second approach in the north. Now the big question is, they are being hit by shore bombardment. They are obviously being hit in the air. We've got 6 close air support wings in the area. The fighter wings can stand down at this point. We have no, the enemy has no fighter cover. But we've got 6 close air support wings running constant close air support. The big question is, can we manage to push the enemy out from the port? We've got a second group landing on the eastern side, and they should be not entirely. Yeah, okay, they have landed, and we have managed to take the port with relative ease due to the fire support from the battleships. They have blown the defenders out without too much trouble, and we have landed Marine forces. We have landed Marine forces in Cagliari, and we have landed Marine forces east of the town. So let's immediately move north and expand our threshold here, because that is a large number of enemy forces. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to send the mountaineers in and give them a front line, and they will be tasked with securing the rest of the island, while the Marines are simply holding the territory here. Actually, we're just going to leave the Marines where they are, to be fair. Let's give them a unified front line. Marines can just simply hold, while the mountain divisions are going to move across. That is not a naval base? I thought that was a naval base. Is that not a naval base? Well, that's awkward. It looks like one to me. Easy fix for that. Let's build one. Naval base. Let's build one very quickly, and then get the mountain division shipped across. So let's get the naval base up and running, and then we can. So we're not actually getting supply then. It is a naval base. Not entirely certain why the mountain forces are having problems with moving out. They should be able to. They should very much. That is a naval base in Sardinia. I'm not entirely certain why I can't get my mountain divisions across. But we'll dig in for now, and we will see if we can. Okay, there we go. Now naval base has been captured by the looks of it, so this is becoming unnecessary. And the mountain divisions are underway under protection of the fleet, which is still operating on naval invasion support here. We've got a Spanish. We've got a Sardinian Spanish fleet operating. They have a heavy cruiser in the area, which is operating against our submarines. We have taken Palma, however, so I'm not sure for how much longer they're going to be operating anywhere. We're securing the islands while dropping some bombs on everything that is transporting across the area. But yeah, the mountain divisions are now shipping in, which means we should be soon able to relieve the embattled Greek. And I've actually put a railway gun here. Yes, that works. So we're actually giving railway gun fire support out of Livorno for the embattled Greek divisions in the north. But we're going to wait for the mountain divisions to come in to clear out the rest of the islands. And that means in the meantime, we can have a quick look at the situation in Africa, where we have taken. I think we are about to wrap up the last footholds of the enemy here. So I'm simply going to give the troops their respective orders, and that should clear that out without too much trouble. We're facing one more Portuguese division. There were some Americans somewhere. Oh yeah, there they are. But I think at this point, yeah, we're simply overrunning the Americans now, and we'll keep the momentum going here. We're about to take the port at Mozambique. This is going to be the last stand of the enemy. Now we do have to keep a close eye on enemy operations. That's the Americans there, and that is the Spanish group. We've managed to sink one of their destroyers, but I might switch the. No, I'm needing the fleet right now to secure the landing of the mountain divisions. But once they have landed, I might actually get the fleet to start hunting the enemy there. Right, excavation tech, more of that, please. And we've still got an enemy foothold here, a single American division in one of the islands, but. Okay, now we're actually shipping the Marines out, which is less than ideal. It's not what I wanted. Oh, because they're going up to the front lines there, are they? Yeah, we're bringing the additional Marines over. That's not where we need them to be. Plan a naval invasion from Parma to there. Okay, let's get them assigned to that, because we're currently busy elsewhere. And the fleet is the fleet's still covering. I'm going to switch them to strike force already, and they will send them over to intercept these enemy destroyers there. So fleet's on strike force under air cover. I think the mountain divisions should be landing in a minute here. Okay, mountain divisions have landed, so that is done. Meanwhile, in Asia, Shandong has capitulated. That is terrible news. And I think it is at this point high time. The Japanese have started to reinforce the front lines. It is high time that we are launching an intervention in the east and begin military operation against Japan. We've pulled a lot of troops from the front lines, but that still hasn't been enough for the Chinese to stabilize it. So we'll be launching military operations along the line. The main thrust is through the central plains against the Japanese defenders towards Harbin. and we'll see if we can reduce the Fengtian government significantly there. That means we have to take our eye off the Mediterranean, which I don't like. Battles here are actually okay. We're actually starting to face more significant resistance than I thought. Let's finish up Mozambique, but then let's get everybody deployed along the front lines for now before we make hasty movements. So the other problem obviously is supply. So we're going to have to wait until the railway is completed and we actually have supply in the area. So yeah, we'll complete the operation in Mozambique, but then we'll wait for supply to arrive, and we might actually need another railway from here towards Mozambique. So let's get that underway as well. And then we'll finish off the remaining defenders who are hanging on tenaciously, and we are at this point running low on supply. We'll finish that off eventually as well. But Congo has control over most of Central Africa at this point. Battles in the Mediterranean are raging. Oh, and we have actually sunk without the interception of without the interceptions purely with our torpedo bombers. We have sunk the flagship of the Spanish Navy, the San Giorgio. Yeah, she's been sunk by one of our PM2As, as well as her destroyer escorts. So that has dealt with that relatively quickly, which means we've got the mountain divisions here. Where's the fleet right now? They should be fleet was actually intercepting. So we are going to position now. We're going to position in Cartagena for now, and then we will see if we can manage to deal with that Canadian fleet while the mountain divisions are getting ready for the attacks north. I can probably I'm going to leave the railway gun up north because it's giving support to the Greek. And we do have to begin the operations in China, where we are pulling significant amounts of troops from the front lines just through the sheer threat of things. And I was hoping that would be enough to stabilize China, but not quite yet. I would really like to finish off the Mediterranean operations first, though, so I don't have to switch between two. But let's get a few other things out of the way. I've got 181 political power. I'm not going to change I could change back into war economy. That might actually not be a terrible idea. No, we don't need to. In fact, the enemy, we're facing an enemy on both sides. But I think we'll stay on limited conscription. I'm more interested actually to go into export focus. The problem is the amount of. Do we actually need any of this? We don't. Is the amount of resources, but tungsten and rubber are my main concerns, because if we are going to export focus, we're going to effectively get another 25% resource to market. So right now, we are mining 200 tungsten. Of that 92 goes into export. So sorry. We've got 374 extracted. 93 out of that goes into export. So that's going to double to 180. So we're actually going to have a shortfall. Now I'm still going to have to wait for some more mining to become available. This is probably just another agent recruitment, yes. So instead, I might look at some more economic decisions here. There's one, steel, chromium, tungsten, yes. A lot of these now become available due to the extraction. So I've got a few more Turkestan industrialization, may as well. I'm going to run a few more economic projects here, and that takes care of things. I've got a few unassigned divisions actually standing here. They're not in a right place. These are newly created guards divisions. I did want to have a little bit more troops in Europe for a potential subjugation of Finland. So I'm going to get them into the European theater. We're going to get them into a... okay, well, I'm just going to move that. Oh, we've got 40 divisions. Okay, that needs to go into the European theater. We've got two armies, actually, pretty much. So we can get all the guards into their own, and we've got the mechanized troops as well into their own army, and these need a new need a new army group. All right. We've got the 11th and the 15th army, and we are going to assign some people. Do we have somebody? We could get Popov to take this one. He's already got armor. It's armor leader, although he doesn't have the combined arms. Would be more interesting. Does he have? He could take the combined arms expert. Yeah, he's just got armor leader. Yeah, perfect. We're giving him combined arms expert, and he is going to become. He's going to go into the 11th army, and we've got a regular infantry army. I'm sure we can get somebody. Yep, that'll do. And we need a new field marshal for that. This is not the 2nd army group. That is the 2nd European front. So these troops for now will be... did I assign I didn't assign a field marshal, did I? No, I didn't. Yep, Field Marshal Reiter, he will do. And for now, these troops will be stationed in Russia. So we'll station one near Moscow, and the other one probably a bit more in. We'll station the other one in France for now, just as forces that can eventually move across the Atlantic. We can also use them as reinforcements in Asia if we need to, but I don't. The supply networks here are relatively scarce, so I don't necessarily want to overdo things there. All right. That said, I believe now is the time that we can begin. I really don't want to take, especially with naval operations. I don't like taking my eye off them. I would like to deal with the Canadian fleet first before we can, before we're shifting pivot to Asia. Might send these on ports. We'll leave this on naval strikes. We haven't seen the fleet, so I'm going to leave this. Fleet on strike force here, and we will simply engage whatever is operating here in the area. I should have the submarines being quite busy here. I've got actually 2 groups operating in the Western Mediterranean Sea on scouting missions. So that should be... what I don't like is the Americans moving so freely around here. But so far we don't have the air range to reach these guys. So order of operations: we need to catch and clear out the Canadian fleet in the Mediterranean. Then we need to get the Marines. Once they're done here, we need to get the Marines to plan a naval invasion into Tangiers across the strait. Once we control the strait completely, we can join the fleets and take on the Americans. We do have Republik and Patrie. The urgency has been diminished, so I'm going to keep training these fleets up for now, until the crews are familiar with their ships, and then we'll send them into combat probably around Ireland, and we will see how that goes. We also potentially have well, November and February next year. Yeah, still the two heavyweights are still a little bit away. So these two ships might be, the Tsar Vladimir class ships, might be able to assist with taking on the American fleet in the Atlantic as well. The mountain divisions here are in place, but they need to regain their organization, and the troops here are currently pushing out the enemy out of Mozambique. And then I think we have to wait until the supply situation is cleared. So we'll wait for the railways to be built, and then we'll clear out the last remaining forces there. Mozambique is now held, which means we also need a railway all the way to Mozambique. Can we get that? We cannot. Okay, we'll deal with that eventually. So a few enemy forces here still in the area, but given our somewhat actually with Mozambique held, we have naval supply, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay, we're building the railway as well. With the naval supply out of the port at Mozambique, we should actually be good to complete this, to be fair. Let's, not the whole group, let's send some forces north. And we've got additional forces that I would prefer to just keep the attack going. I need to have some troops here so Mozambique doesn't get cut off. I'm not sure why everyone is focusing so much on the north here, but we'll launch an attack. We'll launch an attack here against the last remaining positions. I think we've pushed them out, and yeah, this with the supply out of Mozambique, this is actually enough. We are going to collapse any kind of American defense that is remaining, and we will see if from here, well, everyone's moving in. So, and then these can become an African security force, because Africa will have been mostly liberated at this point. I think we are there. We are at the point where the last remaining enemy forces are cleared out of Africa, and then we can at least tick that theater off. And nothing in the Mediterranean. I think they're still in port repairing. So let's get all forces into the last final stand of the enemy. Some Portuguese divisions are remaining. There were some American divisions remaining. And with that, the last colonizers in Africa have been defeated. We're going to get this force concentrated around Leopoldville, and they will begin exercise operations as a new African security force under Shatilov. All right, we do have naval combat off the African coast. Some destroyers are hunting friendly submarines, but yeah, the Americans are there, so we can't really intervene. I'm almost doubting that this destroyer group is that the Americans are are ready to intercept all the way to the approaches. I might send in fact, that's what we'll do. We'll stop the training exercises. I am going to send the French fleet over to. Let's send them over to. No, I don't have Plymouth access. Let's send them over to Brest, and they will be included. This one doesn't currently have orders. This is on hold. And this is on hold. Okay, so this will be a strike force for the only for the which region are we active still in? I don't. Okay, so move towards Brest, move towards the naval base in Brittany, and then act as strike force in the western approaches. So let's see if we can. Get the French fleet to take down these American destroyers, and we'll also see if the American fleet is reacting to that. That would be interesting as well. We've got a few more divisions that are unassigned. I'll deal with these eventually. They actually belong here, so that's easy. And with that, we have Africa done. We have the situation in the Mediterranean mostly under control. The big question is, where are the enemy ships? They're most likely in port here. So I think what we might do is we might simply launch some more port attacks to find that out. Let's see what the status of the enemy fleet is. Let's launch another raid, and we have the enemy fleet in port. I think they are, yeah, they're taken out of commission for the time being. We could simply hammer them from the air, but I was hoping for an actual naval battle. Well, that said, if the fleet remains in port and remains, unfortunately we can't reach the Americans, but if the fleet remains in port, then we can, then we may as well do the naval invasion at some point. So I'm gonna keep striking them for a bit from the air, and that means I should be able to manage the land operations in the Mediterranean together with the operations in East Asia. All right, research, advanced carrier hull, get that done. And then we begin, finally, we begin combat operations in Asia. One major problem we have in Asia is range, because, well, we don't have much. We would really need long range. We would need long range capabilities, operational capabilities to successfully strike here. Tactical bombers would have been ideal, but we mostly have short-range aircraft. Regardless, we might actually have to deal with this position here as well. We've got some Indian troops here. They can probably clear that out for us, the Sakhalin position. Otherwise, I'll divert a few if it becomes necessary. It's an old front line here that can go. There we go. I thought that was okay. Was that not? I thought these troops were on. Actually, we don't need these on area defense anymore. I might actually send these over. And we'll leave them on. We'll leave them on area defense just for the. There's too many of them. I don't need that many. Should I want to split? No, it's fine. Even if they were having problems with, if we had problems with naval invasions. Come on, give me the whole group. Thank you. Instead, we'll leave them where they are. We'll take half the troops. We send them. Yeah, I know. We send them over here, and just in case Japan lands more forces, then we'll make sure that works out. All right, it is time to declare war on Japan, and we will call in the rest of the Moscow Accord. So everyone joins the war. It's a long list of things to dismiss. Okay, and now we've got the Air Force up over the eastern position here. There's no opposition, which means we can launch operations quite aggressively here. We've got some of the mountain divisions that were available to begin pushing in, but we do need to have a bit of a strategic plan actually where the first target is. Okay, Mudanjang is the first operational target because of supply constraints. So this is actually an annoyingly narrow corridor here. So what we might do is we might launch. There's a lake here, so we can't actually launch from here. We might have to shorten the front line for the mountain troops quite a bit, but we can begin initial operations. Fengtian. We're not actually technically at war with Fengtian, so let's fix that. And with that, we are officially once again in the fight. We can begin some widening operations here, but there's no real. The real target would be the port, but I would like to have a bit more a bit wider front line. I don't like this extremely narrow line here. So let's begin some offensive operations against with available troops against Japanese positions. We'll see if we can push them out from there. We've got a few mountain divisions available as well as anti-tank forces. And we'll get, the big target here is to widen the front and take the first supply hub. The rest of the forces, all available forces that are otherwise occupied, can begin operations northwards. We have supply along the lines, so we should be able to cut them off here quite successfully and clear the front lines towards Jemussi, however you pronounce that. So we'll simply advance against Japanese forces here. The main thrust is going to be the armored. This is all. We'll see if we can force the river crossings here, just to widen the lines against the Japanese. The main thrust is going to be here with the armored divisions, and their task is to take the first supply position at Chiar, I hope. I really need to learn how to pronounce these things for the next round. Unfortunately, this is all defensible river positions. So we'll make a first incursion here and see if we can manage to pressure them. The rest of the lines can pretty much hold for the time being. The other interesting one is to activate Papaleyev's Third Army and cut. And I'm going to do that as well and cut through towards Beijing, because that, if we can cut off the whole southern force here, the Chinese front line this way, that would be a noticeable win. So we'll begin offensive operations along the line, target Beijing, nothing else of importance here. So we'll fight our way through. We do have the Govorov's 14th Army in place here as well, so we do have some firepower support. But for now, Papaleyev's regular infantry is going to launch the assault on all sides here, and we will see if we can push through the Japanese positions and make our way towards Beijing and liberate the capital. All right, everyone has joined. Allied troops can fight on other regions quite easily. So first, tank operations against Japanese defenders. They are pretty well dug in there, and we obviously do have to force the river crossings, but there should not be a problem. We also should have the... where are my... There we go. We have the Sviatogor units as well. They are no good for river crossings, so the heavy tanks are going to have to lead the charge here. We've got, we can give them some infantry support from the other side. But once we've made it across the river, the Sviatogors are going to be part of it. Do have to keep an eye on the naval situation, especially if the American fleet is moving. It seems to be moving, so I do have to keep a very close eye on that as well to see where the Americans are going. And where's the French fleet right now? Why are you moving to Estonia? You are on strike force in the western approaches. That is, move here. Okay. French fleet is still on the move. Nothing's happened significantly in the Mediterranean. We are doing significant damage to the enemy ships in port here, but I think they're out of commission for now. So we'll go back to naval strikes here and keep the Mediterranean clear for the last naval invasions. The mountain divisions are almost ready for counterattacks, I think. Yeah, we're running a little low on supply, so let's launch the counterattack. Or let's launch the attack north with all available forces and begin forcing the enemy out. 1,500 combat power. That is that is pretty amazing. If a large stack of this comes out of the planning bonus and the air support, but that is a significant amount of firepower. German East Asia, I don't trust them, and Qing government, yes, the Qing government can. German East Asia, not so much. Interestingly enough, we're now fighting with German East Asia against the Japanese. The American fleet is moving north, so I think the question is, where are they going? I'm going to keep a bit of an eye on them. Yeah, they are definitely moving north, so I think using the French fleet to engage that they're actually on an intercept course towards the French fleet. Maybe they have got a note of this. So let's go back into port in Amsterdam for now, and ensure that the Americans will not be able to intercept the French fleet. I'm wary of this force because that's not one that we can easily take on ourselves. Okay, that has somewhat stopped the operations here. The Greek are still holding on in the north, and we are now coming to their support. Let's use the momentum and keep pushing northwards. The Marines can deliver fire support, but with the mountain divisions we should be able to liberate the southern islands, and then the Marines can set over towards the capital and relieve the Greek forces there. Meanwhile, in the Asian front, we are making progress towards Beijing, but we do actually need to manage that a little bit. Let's divert. We've got 4 divisions here. Let's send 3 to attack Beijing, and I think we will have Beijing in a second liberated, and that is going to cost them pretty dearly. The attacks towards the forward positions here are ongoing. Mountain divisions going forward, and Allied troops are doing a lot of the heavy lifting here as well. Armenia, we don't need expeditionary forces. Use them to your own advantage. Friendly submarines have been lost, but other than that, we have run an airstrike against the first Japanese fleet. We've done some damage to the Hio, the enemy carrier. 1 battle cruiser, 1 battleship, 2 heavy cruisers, 3 aircraft carriers, 17 destroyers, and 11 light cruisers. So first contact with the Japanese fleet. Okay, infantry breakthrough here has been quite successful, and Beijing has been liberated very rapidly, which means we can now clear out the encircled Japanese defenders here and make an end to that. Now from here, once we've defended the Japanese counterattack, we are immediately going to dispatch additional troops to close the southern front completely off, and to take the port of Tianjin. This is what we had attempted with the expeditionary forces very early on, and while we have the momentum, we'll keep pushing the Japanese back along all front lines here. All right, troops moving in to cut the enemy front lines in half and separate the southern front from them. Sardinia has capitulated after advances along the southern islands, which has meant that we're now just dealing with enemy forces here that are not able to retreat, and we will be soon moving the Marine forces north to join up with our Greek comrades and to liberate them as well. So once the enemy troops here have been dealt with, that means the mountaineers are no longer needed, and can. Where are we going to ship them? Do we need them here? Not really. I think we can assign the rest of the Fifth Army towards the front here. So we've done that. The town of Mudanjiang is about to fall, and with that we should have Papua has capitulated. Okay. Oh, that was the Australasian Confederation. Yeah, that's another thing we need to liberate again at some point. But with that, we almost have the Japanese defenders cut off at Tianjin. They are resisting fiercely, and the 80th and 84th are moving in to try and liberate the city before Japanese reinforcements can make their way there. The question is, can we get there before the Japanese tanks have made it across? And we can. So with that, we'll push back the enemy near Tangshan across the river as well, and we will then focus on establishing and holding an actual proper front line, because right now things have progressed rather rapidly. I think what we'll do is we'll focus on liberating the southern part. So I'll get all of Pepelayev's army onto the south in order to sweep south and deal with the rest of the invaders. We have made significant inroads. We have crossed the river lines, which means the Sviatogors can now begin rolling along the plains. And I don't think the Japanese have anything to stop these. And with that, we should be able to collapse Fengtian relatively soon. We're meeting Japanese resistance here, so we'll bring in additional troops in order to liberate the rest of the island here, and then we can focus on Japan itself. Now the problem here is going to be obviously a naval one. There's another attempt at a naval landing in the Balkans by very ambitious, probably American troops. They're doing these kind of things. We have destroyers operating here in the western approaches, but unfortunately we had seen the American fleet moving. So we have lost track of them? No, oh, this is the full battle group. Okay, so the battle group is here. They are definitely covering the western approaches. Okay, so we know this much. We know that the American battle group is too strong for us to attack at this point. We know they're covering the western approaches, Iberian coast and the African coast, and we do need to deal with. We have lots of shipping going on here. I might actually go convoy raiding, to be honest. With a lot of troop movement here around in the Mediterranean that we're currently just striking from the air. We might actually get the fleet that's currently in Cartagena to begin taking out convoys. So let's clear out all the troop convoys that are currently operating here, and we're doing a good job from the air. But I think if we're involving the naval forces as well, we have a lot of things that can still be taken out, and we're not yet ready for a naval landing here and deprive the Americans of their last base. I think they're trying to move their troops because they're seeing that their position in the Mediterranean has been lost. They're trying to move their troops out towards Morocco, and or towards any further attempts at landings or other operations. My Marines are still are about to capture the port, but the Americans are trying to get out from all of their losing positions in the Western Mediterranean. So we'll use the fleet available to intercept and destroy any kind of American force that we can catch and send their troops to the bottom of the ocean, while we are making advances in Japan or against Japan across the whole front line.